So I'm actually really excited to share my story, and I think we're very, very lucky right now to be part of New Skin. I'm so grateful because it was working earlier, hey, with with what's happening with the pandemic, we are so lucky, so fortunate to be able to do what we do and to continue to grow our business actually. And I'm sure it's like that for you all, and it's I know for my team and so many teams. Why did it? For so many teams, it's actually people, the business is actually quadrupling, double, triple. It's amazing during this time. So this is actually quite a good time for us, I think, for New Skin for sure. And you gotta take a look at, is this a good time for you? And I would say it is a great time for every one of us to actually start building this business. And so let me start by telling you a little bit about my story. I'm going to go way back, okay, to where I was born. So we can actually talk a little bit about perseverance and how I'm learning actually from my parents. So these pictures here are indicating that, this little girl here you see in the middle of that group picture, that's me. And that picture was taken in Vietnam. I was born in Vietnam, and during in the mid 70s, there were some issues with because we're Chinese living in Vietnam, there were some issues with the Chinese and Vietnamese governments, and so we were persecuted as Chinese living in Vietnam. So we actually had to escape. We actually had to leave Vietnam, and we thought we'd go home and lived in and went to China. And when we went to China, the Chinese government greeted us by, yes, they welcomed us home, but they put us in a commune farm. And life was extremely, extremely difficult. And so, my mom was a teacher, so they put her, she was teaching, and then my dad, who did office work and administrative work, was put in the tea farm. And there wasn't very much. It was in a commune farm. That means they provide all the food, you sort of go line up, and you don't get very much. So life was really difficult. And my parents caught wind that people were leaving Vietnam. They were leaving Vietnam, and so as boat people. And so really, my parents made a choice, because there are two primary choices in life, right? To accept conditions as they exist, or accept the responsibility for changing them. And I think you can actually relate that to what's happening now in the pandemic, because right now, this is what's happening. We know that's a reality. A lot of people are not able to work. A lot of people can't go to work, or they're losing work. They're losing the job. So then you actually have two choices. Either you accept them as they are and say, okay, well, I'll just sit home and wait and see how it goes. Or you take the responsibility and do something new and do something to change, right? Make those necessary change. So that's important. So my parents, my dad, my mom and dad decided they're gonna take responsibility and make the change. So we decided to participate and be part of the boat people. So we actually had to, I remember walking, we actually had to escape. Okay, we escaped China by walking, and we had to leave in the middle of the night, and went and got on these really dilapidated, not seaworthy boats. And we were crammed in, as you can see those pictures, we were crammed in. That's a very typical boat that people were escaping for the boat people. That's very, very typical. And we were crammed in there. And we had to go through, oh my gosh, craziness. We encountered pirates. Okay, we were shipwrecked, and because of the storm. And I remember, it's really crazy. I remember we actually we're bailing water, because there was like holes in the boat, and we're bailing water. So there's lines of people bailing water, and we had to gather all the blankets and stuff the hole. That was what life was like, but that's a risk that we got to take. And what's really interesting is only that 25% of the 25% of the people who actually go through this journey die. 75%, only 75% actually survive this journey. And so really, we have difficulties in our life, and difficulties, in your life do not come to destroy you, but to help you realize your hidden potential and power. So let difficulties know that you too are difficult, right? And we persevered. We persevered, and we ended up in a refugee camp in Macau. But what's really crazy is how this is a story of amazing courage, because we were in a boat, and we were, like you're saying, we weren't doing very well. We were sinking, and someone, actually one of my dad's friend, volunteered himself. He jumped into the sea to look for help. He's swimming in the middle of the ocean looking for help. And they found a fishing boat and negotiated and say, give them everything we had, all the jewelries and everything, so they would tow us. And they asked, where are you going? And we said, well, we're going to Hong Kong. Hong Kong's, because we heard about Hong Kong and the refugee camps. And they said, well, I can tow you close to the Macau border and the Macau water. And they towed us there and left. And and then the patrol came and said, where are you guys going? We're like, we're going to Hong Kong. They said, well, you're not doing well. So, and they invite us out to shore, and then they're pumping water out. As they're pumping water, our boat sank. Like, our boat sank. And so we end up in Macau. And the thing is I'm really grateful that we end up in Macau, because Macau, actually, the conditions of the refugee camps are a lot better than Hong Kong. So again, it's courage, right? If that guy did not jump into the sea, we would have died. All of us would have perished in sea. So it takes courage to make a difference, to change your life. And so really, good things come to those who believe. Better things come to those who are patient. And the best thing comes to those who do not give up. And we didn't give up. It's very easy to give up, but we didn't give up. So you gotta ask yourself, you have lots of challenges. Are you giving up, or are you just gonna surrender and say, I'm done? Or are you going to be patient and persevere and continue? And so because we persevered, we end up in Canada. This is when we first arrived in Canada. This is like the first probably month or two of us arriving in Canada, right? And so life was not easy, because we came to Canada owing the government money, because we were sponsored by the government to come to Canada, and we had to pay for our airfare. So my little sister there, the little baby, was born in Canada. So that's how, that was only a few months after arriving in Canada. And we're really fortunate in that the community really helped us out, and all of our clothes and furniture and everything was, they were donated to us. Everything was used. And my parents really worked hard, because they have to make it work. We are in Canada with nothing, owing the government money for the airfare for us to come here. They worked hard. They worked 2 jobs. They worked from morning to night. And being at that time, I turned 9 in Canada, I was babysitting while my parents went to work. But you just have to do what you got to do, right? That's just part of life. And so I don't know why my screen doesn't always work. I can't advance my, oh, there we go. Here it goes. So because my parents were, their why is so strong, is to give us a better future. Life was difficult, but they found a way to make it work, even having to work 2 jobs, right? Even having to go to thrift stores to buy clothes, right? We made it work. And so when your why is strong, when your why is strong enough, life, all the obstacles, they don't matter. So for me, in Nu Skin and going through, it hasn't been an easy journey, but my why is strong. For me, I do not want my two sons to have to grow up how I did with really nothing. We had no toys, we had nothing. We couldn't do lessons. We had no swimming lesson. It was nothing. It was barely hard. It was hard enough to just survive and put food on the table. And so, my why is very strong. And I want to give my boys the life that they deserve and to give them the life that will allow them to live to their full potential. That's my why. And the other why for me are my parents. They've sacrificed so much for us, that I want to give back and honor them and make them proud for that, to really honor them, because they've given so much. Everything was given to us to make life better for us. Without them making that decision, where would I be? And I think I'm grateful for that. And the other thing is, because I've been given so much, I believe that when much is given, much is expected. And with, I like to be able to give back to the community and really be of significance and make a difference in the world. And so my why is strong. So even young, I knew I was meant to do great things. I just didn't know what. So what I started off was, I thought, okay, to make a big difference, I can be a teacher, right? I can touch many lives and make many changes. But teaching isn't always, isn't easy. It was good at the beginning, talking about, being a teacher. It was great. It was exciting. I'm making a difference. But then I'm finding my hours are really long. Like, I'm the first one to get in, going to the school, and the caretakers actually have to tell me to leave. They say, okay, we're closing down the school, right? Because those are long hours as a teacher. It's not only stressful, you have to do marking, you have to mark our things, grading and lesson plans. All of that isn't easy. And you think about it, to be a teacher, it's a great profession, but I want a little bit more in life. And I know as a teacher, what can I do? I can take care of my family, maybe go on vacation once a year. But that's pretty much it. When you look at it and think about it, as the teacher, how much money do you actually make? How many nice cars do you see on the parking lot at your school, right? They're all beat up cars. So then you think, okay, so I thought, okay, I'll look for something else. And I also, at that point, I've been teaching for about 7 years, and I had kids. I started having kids. And when I had kids, I'm like, it doesn't make sense for me to be going to school, teaching other children while I leave my kids someone else. So I wanted to be home for my kids. I didn't want to be where, I know what it was like growing up, where I didn't have my parents around because they were working. And so I wanted to be home. So I was looking for something else. And I was a financial advisor then, because that way I can work around my kids' schedule. Looking for freedom. That's what I was searching for, freedom. But I found that I was still in that rat race. It wasn't what I was really, truly passionate about, and it wasn't working. I'm still working in that rat race. So what I learned is that you gotta leverage. And, instead of getting T4 W2 or T4, I wanted to get a T4A or a 1099 in the US, right? I wanted to be able to leverage and have a business. So I was told, if you want to have a business, if you want to be financially free, you want to have a business. And during that time, I'm like, okay, well, that's good. Do you know what I did? Was I spent $350,000 to buy a business. But instead, I bought myself a job and a lot of stress. I thought, what I'll do is I'm going to spend this money. I'm going to buy. So I had an advertising company, and this advertising company, my overhead was $70,000 a month. $70,000 a month, whether we bring in the income or not, $70,000 a month. So instead of getting residual income, I had residual debt. And it was really, really stressful. And, and a lot of people say, yeah, I have my own business. Really, that was my mindset when I first actually was introduced to Nu Skin. People said, I'm like, no, thank you. My upline, Steve Huang, would approach me, and I'm like, no, thank you, because I didn't understand. I'm like, what do you mean? You want me to look at network marketing? Network marketing in my mind during that time, okay, without knowing really, I don't know where I got that from. But in my mind, network marketing was for losers. Really, that's my thought, okay, or for housewives or people with nothing better to do. So I'm like, no, thank you. I'm not interested. And don't be like me and say, be that, but, you know, that was my attitude. I didn't know any better. So then I end up saying no. And somehow, a year later, we met them again. And this time, my then husband was with me then. And he's like, you should do this. We should do this. I'm like, no, thank you. If you want to do it, you sign up. I'm not doing this. And he signed up. Yeah, he signed up. And then somehow I got involved in doing the business. As you can see, I'm now doing the business. He's not involved in the business at all. So the moral of the story is you talk to one person, they don't want to do this. You talk to the wife doesn't want to do this. Maybe talk to the husband, and you don't know. You don't know what's going to happen. So don't give up, okay? Find another way, because that's what happened to me. Because if my ex-husband didn't say yes, I wouldn't have this. I wouldn't have this amazing opportunity. And I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful for that. And so, when my upline, actually, the person who sponsored me, Steve Huang, he's like, yeah, he made $1 million in 18 months. And I'm like, $1 million in 18 months? I'm like, I'm gonna do this. I can do this. I can make $1 million in 18 months. But I didn't know his history then, right? I'm like, yeah, of course I can do this. Well, 18 months later, I didn't make $1 million. So in realities, there's lots of ups and downs. And we have to go through the ups and downs and go through the lessons, go through the different challenges to learn our lessons to get to where we need to go. But a lot of times people give up before they get there, right? Many people give up. And when you actually look at this, if you look at this illustration on the bottom, that's just life. And there's ups and downs, but you can see the ups tend to be a bit higher than the lowest point. So eventually you'll get to where you want to go, as long as you don't give up, because it's challenging, and you have to be clear, right? You know where you want to go. So this is what you want. You want to create whatever it is that you want. Maybe you want to create financial freedom for your family. Maybe you want to provide, for me, I wanted to provide for my children. I want to be able to have a huge impact in the world and make a difference in the world. But what's going to happen is you will have people along the way, and you will have challenges that will knock you down. Right? It will knock you down. There are people who's going to say, you kidding me? They'll laugh at you. But then what do? Do you hide, turn around and hide? Or do you persevere? When they knock you down, do you get up? Because in my journey with Nu Skin, I've gone ups and downs. And when I first started the business, I became a Ruby really, really quickly. I think 3 or 4 months I was a Ruby. And so it was like, yes, okay, I went on the Ruby trip and did all of that. And I was like, oh, by the time I went on a Ruby trip, I was a lapis. Right? Then, and then I was, and then, before I'm like, what happened? What happened to the people? They said they want to do this. Why don't they want to do this? But that's part of reality. Right? That is just part of reality. You have people who say they want to do things, but really majority of people don't. 95% of the people give up on their dreams. 95%, not just, and people say, people talk about this. They say network marketing is so hard. People are always giving up. You lose so many people. But you actually think about it, it's just not network marketing. It's actually human nature. Human nature, they give up. And, you know, and so maybe because they go to, if they have a job, it's easier because they have to go to work, they get paid. Okay. But with us, you have to drive, you have to actually have the motivation to do it yourself, because you don't have a boss. You don't have someone telling you you need to be at a certain place and what you have to do every day. So therefore, they tend to give up. So how many people actually set a resolution, New Year's resolution, right? By February, they've forgotten about it. Majority of the people. So it's really human nature. So are you strong enough to persevere? Are you courageous enough to go through what you need to go through to have the life that you want? And in order to have the life you want, you got to make the changes. I know I've grown so much since the beginning, since 10 years ago when I started the business. I've grown so much, and I'm so grateful. I am a totally different person than when I was 10 years ago, because our business require that we do grow. We need to grow into our goals, grow into our vision. And so, like I said, with Nu Skin, I've gone lots of ups and downs, right? I've gone to Blue Diamond, then back down to Ruby, then Emerald, then, you know, that's just life. But I know what I want. I know what I want to create. And so this is it. I have to continue because this is what I want. So really, you need to believe in yourself and all that you are, and know that there's something inside you that is greater than any obstacle. Greater than any obstacle. Because you know what you want when your vision is clear, when you know there's no stopping you. You just need to grow yourself so that you're ready. And I'm really, really grateful for this business, because I truly understand what freedom meant. 2 years ago, my grandma was really sick. And what was really interesting, I took a whole summer off. I took my son on a road trip for a month, came back, and my grandma was really sick. And so I thought, I didn't work. I didn't have to go report to my boss and say, you know, my grandma's sick. Can you please, can I have some time off? I didn't have to do that. I had no one to answer to. And I was able to be with my grandma, and I was able to take care of her before she passed. And to me, that's freedom. To have the ability to take care of the people who need you the most, your loved ones, when they need you. Not when they don't need you, it's when they need you the most. And I had that, sorry, I had the honor and the privilege to be able to be with my grandma. And I was there for her until she passed, and then was able to help with my family, take care of the funeral and everything, and not having to report to anybody. To me, that's when I truly understand the power of this business. And I continue to be paid. My team continue to grow. That's what this business is all about, is having this freedom. And so many of us won't have to go through that to really appreciate it. But I know what this business has offered me and what it's done for my life, the freedom that I've gotten. So really, you ask yourself, right? There are two primary choices in life: to accept conditions as they are, or accept the responsibility to change them. So for me, I choose freedom. So you need to decide, what do you choose? What do you choose for you? So yeah, let me know if you have any questions, or that's sort of my story. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Kari, for sharing your story with us today.